Hey guys, what's up? This is Bret. Welcome to this week's episode of Friday on the Turntable. Today I am doing a special edition. It's part 5 of my ranking series where I take a particular artist and I just rank their album from least favorite or good to excellent. I've done this before with The Doors, The Cure, U2, David Bowie's work through the 70s, so if you're interested in checking out any of those other ones, be sure to have a look down at my channel. Today I'm looking at Peter Murphy. For those of you unfamiliar with Peter Murphy, I'm just going to give you a quick little history. He was the singer of a band called Bauhaus. I have their last album in their original run. They ran from 1979 to 83. Then they had a long break, and they reunited in 1998 with a live tour. Then stopped doing that, and then came back around in 2005, 2006. Did another tour and recorded a final album called Go Away White. After the initial demise of Bauhaus, Peter Murphy went on, while the other 3 guys went on to form Tones on Tail, well, 2 of them, and then eventually Love and Rockets. Peter Murphy did a little side project with Mick Karn from Japan, and that was Dally's Car, and this was their album from back in 1984 called The Waking Hour. Shortly after, I should say, back a couple of years ago, Mick Karn and Peter Murphy reunited to record a second Dally's Car release just shortly before Mick Karn passed away, and they released a 5-song EP called In Glad Aloneness. There's a beautiful cover of Jacques Brel's If You Go Away, so definitely seek that one out as well. I am going to focus on 8 Peter Murphy albums. Now, although his last album was called Ninth, in the counting of that, he's including Alive Just for Love, which was his live album from the early 2000s. I'm not going to include that in the ranking, nor am I going to include the EP from 1998, which was Recall, which was a 5-song EP. There's the little vinyl version of that one as well. So I'm not going to include either of those, so I'm going to rank from 1986, Should the World Fail to Fall Apart, all the way to 2011's Ninth. There's going to be a link down below where it goes to my blog where you can purchase any of these albums, as well as a link to a Spotify playlist. As you'll see, I'm going to choose 3 favorite songs from each album, so I made a playlist with each of those trios of songs from each album, so you guys can check out and explore the catalog further. So let's get started. So coming in at number 8 is 2002's Dust. Now this album is a really lush, beautiful sounding record. Never released on vinyl. It came out on Metropolis, and this was his 6th album. And Peter Murphy lives in Turkey, so for this album he actually had Turkish musicians, Turkish instrumentation, and it has elements of like a band like Dead Can Dance, heavy percussion, like I said, Turkish instrumentation, and the songs are all at least over 6.5 minutes long. And it has 2 reworkings. While there's 9 tracks on the album, 2 of the tracks are actually reworkings of older songs of his, one of them being My Last 2 Weeks from the Love Hysteria album, as well as Subway from Cascade. So it's, while I enjoy listening to it, I just find that I put it at number 8 as my least favorite album, just because I find that there's a bit of a lack of melody that grabs me to latch on a lot of those songs to want to listen to over and over again. So I'm going to give you 3 songs from this one. Opening track, Things to Remember, Fake Sparkle or Golden Dust, and the reworking of My Last 2 Weeks. So that's number 8, 2002's Dust. All right, in at number 7 is 2004's Unshattered. This was his 7th album, produced by Gardner Cole, who actually wrote Madonna's Open Your Heart from the True Blue album. I met Gardner a few times. And this album, my only issue with this album, I think the songs are really deep down. The more you listen to it, the more it really grows onto you. But it has an almost too pop sheen of production to it for Peter Murphy. I think it took away a lot of the raw edge that he has. And but the songs are really, really good. And a few other things I wanted to mention on this one is that there's lots of guest appearances. First off, half the songs were co-written with Paul Statham, who he hadn't worked with in years before this. Paul Statham was one of the 100 Men and one of the guys that actually co-wrote a lot of his earlier material. And Peter DiStefano from Porno for Pyros appears on this one, as well as Stephen Perkins from Jane's Addiction, Porno for Pyros, and Eric Avery from Jane's Addiction. So there's a lot of guest artists performing the music on this one. I'll give you my 3 favorite tracks. Idle Flow, opening track, excellent. Give What He's Got, excellent. Thelma Sings to Little Nell. So check that one out. Those 3 tracks will be in the playlist. So that's in at number 7. That's his 7th album from 2004, Unshattered. All right, number 6. Some people may disagree with where I'm placing this one, and that is his debut album from 1986, Should the World Fail to Fall Apart, on Beggar's Banquet. And this album features 2 cover songs, Para Ubu's Final Solution, as well as Magazine's The Light Pours Out of Me. What do I want to say about this one? It was recently reissued as a 2 CD set that has all the B-side remixes, as well as a really quite phenomenal cover that I'd never heard up until the release of that, of David Bowie's Stay from 76's Station to Station. Just a really authentic version of that, which I really enjoyed and was really happy that that came out of the vaults. Another thing worth seeking out is the Canadian version of this has a track that wasn't included on the American version, but it was released as a non-album single, and that's Tail of the Tongue. Definitely recommend seeking this one out. It's a cool track. I've seen Peter Murphy play lots and lots of times live, and I've never heard him actually do that one. So it'd be interesting for him to pull that song out for recent live sets. 3 favorite tracks in this one. Without a doubt, Godsends, one of my favorite Peter Murphy songs. Canvas Beauty, and then for a third one, it's hard to choose, but I'm going to go with Neverman. Kind of a dark, brooding song. Really good. Okay, on to number 5. Now, number 5, I'm going to actually give the number 5 spot to Peter Murphy's most recent studio album, and this is Ninth. Came out in 2011, and beautiful artwork on this one. Show you that back cover on that one. Just really nice, and there's a really good video for the single I Spit Roses that's really just really beautiful imagery. So Peter Murphy's Ninth, the reason why this one's in at number 5 is it's just because I think it's a really solid album. After Unshattered, it recaptures his rawness, his energy, and it also shows that he's completely relevant with his new material, and he's still creating excellent songs. My band Audra, we got to open up for him on one of the shows for this tour and hang out with him, and he watched our set from the side of the stage and hang out in his dressing room. He's a really funny guy, and just what a night that was. And so it was his first album in 7 years back when that came out, and I'll tell you, I was really blown away by it. It's hard to pick 3 favorite songs, but I'm gonna go with Uneven and Brittle, which is just killer. I Spit Roses and The Prince and Old Lady's Shade. I mean, for a new album, for someone as long of a career as Peter Murphy, those 3 songs right there that I mentioned, if I were to compile a list of even 15 of my favorite Peter Murphy songs, probably all 3 of those would be in there. And that's a rarity for an artist. You know, usually when you pick favorite songs from someone, it's usually from earlier in their career, but that just shows the quality, I think, of the music that he's still writing. So those 3 tracks are all great. He also released, I don't have a physical copy of it, I've sent a copy of it by the record label, I think it was Network that this came out. And there was leftover tracks from this one called The Secret Bees of Ninth, which I believe is available on CD, and it's available digitally, though not on vinyl. And that's worth seeking out. There's a really cool track called Gaslit on that one, as well as a couple other non-album songs. So definitely seek that out. So that's in at number 5. That is 2011's Ninth, his 8th album. All right, in at number 4, definitely need to get this one on vinyl. It's very hard to track down. And that is his last album with his band at the time called The 100 Men. And this is his 4th album, and this is 1992's Holy Smoke. And the cover of that one is kind of an interesting little shot of his face. And when you look, Anton Corbijn, who did U2, Depeche Mode, directed the Joy Division movie Control, he did all the photography. But look at that great picture there. There's some really excellent photos of Peter Murphy in there, but I find it funny that he chose that one as the cover. Just really, yeah, it's just cool. So Holy Smoke, 1992, his fourth album. What can I say about it? It was, I love this album. It's hard to pick three favorite songs, but I'm gonna throw them at you. Hit Song, which was the closing one on this one. Just phenomenal pop, just a really pop, catchy song. Keep Me From Harm, the opening track, and Our Secret Garden. Now, if you're familiar with Holy Smoke, you'll know there's this like a cappella harmonized vocal introduction before Keep Me From Harm starts, and that actually is a song that he later performed with its full lyrics, and it's called Cool Cool Breeze, and it's the opening track on his Alive Just for Love album. So seek that out as well. So that's in at number 4. That's Holy Smoke. All right, keeping on. Number 3, his second album, 1988's Love Hysteria. His second album, like I said, I'll pull this sleeve out there so you can see it. So Love Hysteria. It was produced by Simon Rogers, who ended up playing in the band The Fall. It has a cover of Iggy Pop's Fun Time, and if you seek out additional versions of this album, I think the CD, the remastered CD version, certain ones, and various B-sides of singles. There is the, I think it's called the Cabaret mix of Fun Time, where this is the more kind of rockin' version, like the Iggy Pop's version. The Cabaret version of Fun Time is really slow, jazzy. Definitely worth seeking out. This album is special because it has the very first song I ever heard by Peter Murphy back then, and that was Socrates the Python, which is just phenomenal. So right off the bat, 3 favorite songs: Socrates the Python, Dragnet Drag, and My Last 2 Weeks. But there are lots and lots of gems on here, like Indigo Eyes, Time Has Got Nothing to Do With It, All Night Long. Just a great record. So that's in at number 3, 1988's Love Hysteria. Okay, so here is where it's going to separate some people. So number 2, my number 2 pick, I'm sure is going to be a lot of people's number 1 pick, but it's in at number 2 for me, and that's Deep. 1989 or 90, 1989 this came out. What an album. You know, it's hard to, between this one and my number 1 pick, it's a tough call. This album was just, it was his breakthrough with the huge single Cut You Up. Production on this one is just phenomenal. It's just crystal clear. And yeah, what a record this was. Deep. It was his, third album, sorry. And so favorite tracks on this one, I'll show you my copy with the sticker on there and the Tower Records little sticker here. What was this, $9.44. So Peter Murphy's Deep. Favorite 3 tracks. Here we go. Marlene Dietrich's favorite poem. Excellent acoustic song. Still performs it live all the time. Crystal Wrists. Excuse me. Allergies here in Arizona. And Crystal Wrists, great song. And then Cut You Up. Now there's a part in it. Marlene Dietrich's favorite poem, I know, where my brother and I would always listen to it. There's this kind of part in the break where you go, and my brother figured out that that percussive part in there sounded like billiard balls, pool balls hitting together as that little section. I remember when we were hanging out with him, my brother asked him, and now I have no memory of what the response was, but that just popped into my head. It's something I always think about when I listen to the album. But great, hard to track down on vinyl. You should be able to find it on CD, very easy. Strange Kind of Love's another great track on this one. 7 Veils, Deep Ocean, Vast Sea, and then the 2 versions of Roll Call. I got to stop right there with Roll Call because the absolute best version I've ever heard of Roll Call was when I saw Peter Murphy back in 2000, and his band was just great. It had Kevin Haskins from Bauhaus on drums, Peter DiStefano from Porno for Pyros on guitar, and it had Eric Avery from Jane's Addiction on bass. And man, the version they did of Roll Call just blew me away. That song has never been one of my favorites, although I like it. It's not one of my favorites. So hearing that live version just took it to a whole nother level. All right, without further ado, let's look at my absolute favorite Peter Murphy album is 1995's Cascade. Look at his little picture on the back there from his childhood. So, what can I say about this album? It's just perfect, I think. It was from beginning to end. It's just, it flows just excellent. Produced by Pascal Gabriel. It has Michael Brook, who did the album with Peter Newton, Sleeps with Fishes, on guitar. And wow, just a stunning album. Just the two, when I saw them live for that tour, actually, Jewel, you know, the singer-songwriter Jewel, who will save your soul, opened for Peter Murphy on this tour. And I was just blown away. His just performance of this album was great. And it's always, I always say this to people, you know, when they talk about, oh, when they see a band and they're like, oh, they didn't do enough hits or whatever. Man, I'll tell you what, the key is to see an artist on that tour when it's the album. Let me see if I can explain this properly. When an album comes out, you want to see them because that album, because that's the only time you're going to hear a big predominant section of that album, if that makes sense. So when you see a band right after after a new album comes out, you want to see that because that's the only time they'll perform, you know, a big chunk of that album, because next time around they'll be performing songs from the next album, so those other songs start to filter out. So when he did this one, he did almost the whole album, and it was just killer. 3 favorite tracks. I had to pick 3. I'm going to go with I'll Fall With Your Knife, The Scarlet Thing in You, and Wild Birds Flock to Me. But really, I mean, the whole album is just stellar. And I want to also mention, it is available on vinyl, and it's so super scarce. I've never seen a copy because I think it only came out in Spain, and that is like #1 on my grail list. I also wanted to show this little cool thing because this was a single for The Scarlet Thing in You, and it has a couple alternate versions of, it has an alternate versions of Crystal Wrist, a live version of Dragnet Drag. But the great thing about this is the non-album Cascade track called Wish. Incredible. I mean, it would have fit in the album perfectly, but you know, having it as this little rare track that a lot of people don't know about is just something special. Definitely worth seeking that one out. Okay, I think that about wraps it up. So that was Cascade was his 5th album, #1 favorite for me, 1995. Like I said, there's going to be links down below for the playlist, for purchase links, and then I also want to mention that Peter Murphy has a new album coming out in the fall called Lion, and I'm really looking forward to that. From what I understand, his current tour that's going on, he is previewing before he hits the stage snippets of each of the songs. And little video clips on the screen behind the stage. So I've gotten to hear several of those tracks, those snippets, and it's sounding really good. So anyways, I hope you guy enjoyed that little run through of Peter Murphy's catalog. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching.